Okay. What's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. Welcome back to the best games of all time. We are now in 1991. There's a whole bunch of games in this year and every year afterwards. We're starting with an unusual one. This is Another World, also known as Out of This World. I don't know why they changed that title specifically for the US, but yeah, so this one, I've played this before, let me tell you. When I was a youngin', like many youngins of my age and time, we would occasionally be allowed to go to, say, Blockbuster, and we would get to rent a game, say, for the weekend. This is a common tale for many people. If you've watched Angry Video Game Nerd, he talks about this plenty of times. And so you would get to choose a game that you were going to play for that whole weekend. I mean, sure, you probably had older games, but this was new. This was fresh. This was a new game to play. I mean, it was a big deal. This isn't like now where you have Steam summer sales and you buy 40 games you never play. I mean, you were gonna get, you know, something fresh for the whole weekend. And you didn't know. I mean, information was scarce back then. So this game could have been hot, or it could have been hot shit. You didn't know. You just had to go with the title, cover, things like that. And so I vividly recall one time seeing a game called Out of This World. Oh, they changed it to Out of This World to avoid confusion with a soap opera called Another World. Brilliant. And, by the way, the game has just started. And if you don't press up fast enough, you get dragged down and you die. But that's alright, we can sit at this screen for a little second. So yeah, Another World. Or Out of This World. Yeah, so it was on SNES, alright? And I'm not going to take the time, because I'm a lazy asshole, to actually show you the box art for Out of This World. But just, you know, if you care, go ahead and Google Out of This World SNES and just look at the box art for that game. This is what I saw on the shelf, you know, and this is all I had. And you look at it, and it just looks awesome, right? Because it's like, okay, Out of This World, you've got this guy who he's going through some sort of portal from New York City, and he's being thrown into this crazy fucking world with this horrible, like, King Kong, but even more horrible monster, and there's, like, pteranodons and octopi, and, oh, man, this is gonna be nuts. And, yeah, and then you get into it, and it's just shit. I mean, obviously, it's not just shit. It's on this best games of all time list. There's something to it. But, you know, for someone like me that was expecting just this action-packed romp through this, you know, alien world, maybe I'd be blasting things and bouncing around, you know. I mean, who knows what I really expected. What I got was not what I expected. And especially because the SNES port is not a very good one. It's very clunky. It's got a very low frame rate, and it's just slow. It's just slow, and you die to everything. Like, you can survive nothing, and it was just so miserable. I played it for like 10 minutes, and I couldn't get anywhere, and I was just like, fuck. You know, 8-year-old me was just sitting there staring at it. and said fuck. And you know, you remember shit like that because that's your whole weekend basically ruined because I didn't even want to look at it after 10 minutes. I was not the type to just sort of persevere and try and figure it out and all that. Like, fuck that, I'll just play Mega Man X. So that's that. And only later did I learn that no, it's actually a really critically acclaimed game and it was a big deal and all this, and it's one of the best games of all time. Part of that, of course, is playing it on something other than the SNES, such as the Amiga, which is what we're playing it on here. Um, but another part of that is just sort of appreciating the more cinematic aspects of it. And this is another game in the cinematic platformer category, much like Prince of Persia. So this is a game that's very realistic as far as what can kill you, what you are capable of. Pretty much everything can kill you. And it's more like a puzzle solver than like an action-adventure. Figuring out through sort of trial and error what works and what doesn't work so that you can move on. And it's, yeah, it's a very cinematic game. There's like cutscenes, and I mean, we just watched that whole intro where you're this scientist that gets accidentally teleported to this other world. Yeah, and most of the game involves no text, no speech, you know, nothing like that, because you're on this alien world. Nobody speaks English or anything like that. So everything is just conveyed through like body language and gestures and action, you know. So it's yeah, it's meant to be very cinematic. And it's very impressive, especially because it was designed by one French guy, Eric Chahi. That was it. It was one guy. He did it all. Except for the music, but still. He apparently was working like... He worked on it for years. Worked on it for like 2 years and was just like exhausted. I thought I saw some other fact about it that was just like nuts. Oh, right. So for the DOS version in 1992, because a lot of reviewers criticized the short length of the game, he decided to put in another level and like some more things into the game for the DOS version. So he worked 16 hours a day for 2 months to get that done. I mean, that's just insane. But anyways, let's just play another world. I don't really remember. I've seen some footage. I know how to get past like the first threat, but then after that, yeah, we'll see. I'm not going to get very far, but let's go ahead. So yeah, we're playing this on the Amiga, but with a controller. So it works. You gotta swim up right away. Then you get out. Now, if you just stand here, you will die because those tentacles will come out of the water. But here's your movement. You can kick. That's your attack. And if you crouch down, you can do a ground kick. You can also do a forward hop, and you can run. And I don't think there's any stamina or anything like that. So, yeah, if you go over here, if you jump off that cliff, you grab onto the rope, which just, you'll swing back to wherever you are. So that has a purpose. Oh, and here we've got a little beetle. Let's kick the shit out of this. I seem to be moving backwards with my kicks. That's curious. I don't know if this is actually an enemy. Maybe not. Alright, so if we go over here, we've got a little slug thing. That is an enemy. Yep. Cut me. Dead. That's it. That's all it takes. Secret of Monkey Island, this is not. And so you get sent back right to the start here. Climb out of the water again. And you see a big, horrible creature in the background watching us. He'll show up in a second, don't worry. We gotta get past these slugs. There you go. Beat the shit out of them. Boom. So we run this way. More slugs, still in the background. Oh god. That's gonna be a problem in a second. Okay, so we run over here. Oh no! So now we gotta run. Nope. Fucked up. Dead. And then you go back to the start. This is not a game designed for kids. It just wasn't. It just wasn't. And if you're an adult and you got the patience for all this shit, yeah, I mean, it was crazy cool. Especially for, like, the games as art crowd. But for, like, an 8-year-old kid that just wants a cool, fun action game, it's shit. And I fell into the same trap years later. I did the same thing again with a very similar game called Heart of Darkness, which is not nearly as well recognized. Fuck me. Yeah, Heart of Darkness lured me in with this, like, really cool aesthetic and a cool title and, like, a cool theme, but it's basically the same thing. It's another cinematic platformer, and it's just... I got farther in that game. I think I was a little older. I was a little more committed, but eventually, yeah, I threw my hands in the air. God damn it, I fucking hate this game. Oh, man. It just, yeah. It boggles my mind that this is as popular as it is, because it's just so nuts to me. Another World, does it still hold up? This is from 2017 for the 20th anniversary edition. I only got this game for the achievements. I was surprised by how much I got for the £6 roughly I paid for it. Not the good surprised, more the infuriated surprise as I repeated monotonous section after monotonous section. Controls. This is where my biggest bugbear came in. The controls and movement mechanics. Usually a bad game carries clunky and heavy movement and fighting mechanics, making fights irritating and slow. However, Another World overloads their controls, making movement and fighting in a random chance event. On the Xbox One, controls the A button accounts for running, shooting, picking up the odd weapon, creating a barrier, and firing a power charge shot. In a game where the slightest mistake in combat can set you back a good 5 minutes of annoying gameplay, having a 30% chance of the same button performing the wrong command is less than ideal. The system is understandable for the original release for Atari ST and Amiga, however, surely this would be a simple fix in the 20 years since the original release. Difficulty. The game was challenging. There were many aspects where you had to travel to different sections of the location in order to piece together a solution. That is one of the few redeeming factors about this game. You did need to engage your brain on a few occasions to figure out how to proceed. A few challenges were trial and error based, whilst others may not have been difficult, but required good reactions and quick thinking to succeed. For the most part, there would be nothing wrong with these challenges. However, the limited save points meant that using trial and error to figure out one challenge would mean repeating several of the more finicky parts of the game more than once. This led to great frustration and just a touch of anger as I rage quit like never before. Turning a meh achievement-driven game into one that requires a long walk and deep breaths after playing, and not in the rewarding fun sense like Dark Souls or adrenaline release of a GTA 5 heist. For a replayability factor, I wouldn't touch the game again after completing it. For the majority of my playthrough, I thought the game was alright. Nothing special, but worth the couple of hours I sunk into it. However, the more I progressed, the worse the game got, in my opinion. The repeated use of poorly structured controls and the constant repetition of 5 minutes of game, both down to my terrible gaming skills and trial and error systems, made this game unbearable. The only saving grace for me was starting a new game, handing the controller to a friend, and watching their pain as they died in the most pathetic ways, grew frustrated and defeated just as I had done moments earlier. I have been harsh on this game. In reality, the original was the AAA title of its time. It was innovative and paved the way for gaming to progress into what it is today. The 1991 version will always remain a stoic pioneer in gaming, but it never should have been brought into the 21st century. See, now that tells me it's not one of the best games of all time. One of the best games of all time should always be, you know, playable. Should always be good. I don't know. I, I'm not sure. Here's a whole article from Wired. Another World may not play so great, but it still looks incredible. Great. Fucking great. I'll watch somebody else play it. But that doesn't make a good game. It makes a good movie. This is a person that played it when it came out. They were 20 when it came out. I mean, Jesus. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know about this one. Being a pioneer is one thing. Being a, you know, entertaining game is another. But I guess it's not the point. It's not meant to be entertaining. It's meant to be a cinematic adventure. Fucking Christ. Am I just doing the wrong thing here? All I know is I didn't have the patience for this game when I was 8, and I don't have the patience when I'm 32. This is not a game designed for Mangg. Okay, what if I just do this kick? Does this work? Nope. Don't do that. Maybe you can just run through. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. But yeah, I mean, I would rather sit here and play through Secret of Monkey Island, nope, 10 times in a row than spend 30 minutes on another world. I mean, that's where I'm at. Because Secret of Monkey Island just holds up. But yeah, my biases are showing. Okay, I mean, you can, nope. It's just so bad. This is Populous all over again. I don't even want to look at it. So, we're done. We're done with Another World. Ugh. All those bad memories coming back. I don't know. It really, yeah, I mean, it comes to just, like, the crux of the best games issue. It's just too subjective. It's just too subjective. I feel like Super Mario World if you polled, you know, 100,000 gamers and asked them to say their top 1,000 games, Super Mario World would probably appear on a lot of them. How many would appear? How many would Another World appear on? Um, like frankly, we just need some like massive aggregation of like yeah, of like 100,000 gamers aged like 10 to 70 and just have them list their top 1,000 games and then we'll just work off of that. Whichever game appears on the most lists, that's the number one game. But even still, that number one game that appears on the most lists, there'll still be people that don't like it and don't agree that it's one of the best games of all time. I mean, this is just, it's an impossible thing that we're trying to put together here. It's really like a list of games that are the most highly regarded. That's more closely what it is. And especially because the list doesn't always take from best of lists or of all time lists. I mean, most of them are, but some of them are like the 1,001 games you need to play before you die. 1,001 games you must play before you die. That's a different argument. I mean, yeah, I would say Another World is probably some game you should play before you die just to see, you know, sort of the impact it had, the uniqueness of it. Maybe it is your sort of cup of tea. You know, it's just, it's an incredible example of the cinematic platformer genre, you know. So, 1,001 video games to play before you die, that's a much better argument. And I know there's 1,001 books you should read, 1,001 movies you should, you know, there's all sorts of those lists. So yeah, I mean that's much better. Wait a minute, did I not see this? Are you serious that they had the 30 best video games of all time and Zork was on here at number 27? What the fuck? I mean, that's just wankery, right? I mean, that's just nonsense. You've ranked it higher than Uncharted 2. I mean, I don't know. I just under what sort of fucking boomer put this list together is all I can say. Number 30 is Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. What is this? Prison Architect is at 22? Alpha Protocol? What? I mean, where do these people... The Dig? The Dig is number 13. Holy shit. Holy shit. I mean, look. The Dig is not a bad game. Don't get me wrong. I own the Dig as a youngin, and it was unique. It was like sort of helmed somewhat by Steven Spielberg. It's a point-and-click adventure game, and it's meant to be like this big epic sci-fi thing on this alien planet. I like the Dig more than Another World, I'll tell you that. But putting it as the number 13 best game of all time, holy shit. What the fuck? Number 3 on their list. Call of Duty Black Ops 2. And number 1 is Gods Will Be Watching from 2014. This is the best game of all time, according to TheWrap.com. What? What? Are there comments on this article? Because I want to see them just get torn apart. There isn't, of course not. I could be the first to comment. I mean, I don't. And yeah. I mean, so you've got articles like that, right? Articles like that Wikipedia took and that's contributing to the data presented here. And I mean, yeah. So Jesus. So I mean, this is a long-winded thing. The point is, I mean, obviously every game on this list is sort of important or was really popular for its time or was influential or anything. I mean, we're not getting like some random ass games on this list that are just like I have no idea how this possibly could be on here except Populous. But um yeah, the not every game is for every person. That's just what it is. So Another World is not for me. I guess in that case I have to give it a no vote, leaning towards no, just because I don't think it really holds up to any sort of modern audience. I don't know. I mean, again, if you have just discovered Another World within the last decade or know somebody that has and they really enjoyed it, feel free to let me know. But I think at best you're going to get a lot of it was okay, if they actually managed to play through it. But not for me. I will never play through it ever. I have actually watched a playthrough of it, and it's like, it's fine. It's interesting. When the person knows what they're doing and just sort of, runs through it, it's like, all right, it's cool. But that's it. My name is Mangg. This has been Mangg Plays the Best Games of All Time with Another World. I'll see you fine folks next time.